Papers, grading papers, grading papers, grading papers.
Hey, Mr. Charleston.
Hey, Mr. Charleston, how are you?
Colin, what'd you think of that reading assignment last night?
I thought it was okay. What about you?
I mean, it was alright as far as reading assignments go.
Yeah.
Welcome to class today. We will be talking about the barbaric nomads that ruined Eurasia in the post-classical era.
Geez, those people sure do sound horrible.
They sound like some mean guys.
Yes, they were complete barbarians with no civilized society whatsoever. They were merely militarily dominant.
Actually, Mr. Charleston, in the reading assignment over the weekend, Al-Jahiz wrote about the Turks' excellent equestrian skills and their use of Chinese and Greek techniques in philosophy and agriculture.
Oh, did he?
I remember that also. But Con, one must remember that Mr. Jahiz may have some observer bias in those reports.
But never mind that, Khan. Al-Jahiz was obviously too biased for an accurate report. The Mongols were simply raiders with no relationship to civilized empires.
But, Mr. Charleston, according to Francesco Pegolotti's writing over the practice of commerce, many pastoralist people would trade with other civilized empires and in fact travel to the capital city purely to trade, not to raid.
This is all true, but Genghis, you must remember that Francesco Pegolotti was also quite biased. In addition, the pastoralist nomads were similarly chronic swindlers on their way from place to place. They also had no great cities as all the true great empires did.
Well, Mr. Charleston, I disagree again. Odoric of Pordenone describes the city of Kansai, the capital of the Mongolian Empire, as very large with developed markets and an intricate style techniques in their palace.
A Khan. There was no way that Kansai was as grand as Venice or Padua, no matter how grand it was.
How ironic, Mr. Charleston. In paragraph 1 of Odoric's account, he specifically says that Kansai was larger than Venice or Padua, and actually refers to Kansai as the greatest city in the world in the paragraph title.
Right. Okay, you boys need to look up the definition of bias.
What is the definition?
I don't know. I'll just use my mental dictionary here. Oh yeah, bias is when a person intentionally lies about an account in order to make him or herself look better.
Actually, Mr. Charleston, according to Google, bias is prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, or group compared to another, usually in a way considered to be unfair.
Moving on. In William of Rubrich's account of the journey to the land of the Tartars, he proves that the Mongols were indifferent to diplomacy, even after the Christians so kindly reached out to them and simply offered an easy conversion to Christianity. The Mongols reacted harshly when treated with obvious graciousness. and the Mongols were completely opposed to submission. This source is all I need to prove the Mongols were dim-witted barbarians that were unable to see anything other than their side. Mwahaha.
But Mr. Charleston, isn't it also possible that William of Rubruck was also biased, similar to the previous sources Genghis and I mentioned earlier?
Also, Mr. Charleston, isn't what William of Rubruck accused of the Mongols also sort of true of the Christians? I think that if the Christians were searching for true diplomacy, they would not have been aiming to, and I quote, convert these enemies of God and friends of the devil to Christianity, and to enlist them in the West Crusade endeavors against Islam. In my mind, true diplomacy is the art of treating people in a sensitive but effective way.
Isn't this school supposed to be for educated people? I find it so hard to believe that you two cannot simply see the clear evidence that is right in front of your faces and notice that the Mongols and their pastoralist friends were unbelievably inferior to their Christian counterparts in this disagreement.
Mr. Charleston, we didn't mean any disrespect at all. All we were trying to say is that might have been a small chance that William was just as biased as the people you claimed to be biased earlier today.
Very well, it's okay, Khan. Now we'll move on to the land of Genghis Khan. Get it? Genghis Khan? Whatever. And his territory, Khotan, was one of the most barbaric.
Wait, 1 second. Mr. Charleston, is there any way you could define the term barbaric for me?
The term barbaric has many definitions, and it is unclear what would deem someone a barbarian. But I can assure you, Genghis, the region of Khotan was definitely barbaric. There was no industry or prosperity throughout the entire region. These barbarians were focused on no other thing than expanding their territory. It was all they cared about.
Mr. Charleston, I'm really sorry, but it seems to me that in Marco Polo's written document, Description of the World, Marco specifically explains that in Khotan there was a splendid capital of Pim. In Pim, there were no lack of means of life, cotton was plentiful, and the inhabitants lived by trade and industry.
You guys are really starting to annoy me, but on to different subjects. The nomadic social structure was simple, with just two classes, simply divided by nobles and everybody else. There was no structural advancement.
Mr. Charleston, isn't it possible that the pastoralist nomad groups of the post-classical era simply thought that a simple, easy social structure would make running an empire easier? After all, the Mongols did create the largest empire in the history of the world, excluding the dinosaurs.
You know what? I give up. You two are impossible, and obviously not open to any new information to change your previous opinion. What you looking at me for? I don't know. Class dismissed!
The irony in what he just said is unbelievable.
Period.